so it's not for kids.
Eating to the first watermelon of the new year, Tom.
Seems a little early for that.
It's sweet. It's yummy. We got feedback that sometimes we're a little too esoteric with our openers. So I'm like, watermelon, everybody knows what that is.
True, in theory. Recently...
You know what's crazy? you go. You do your watermelon
I have a cold open that's relevant to this episode's theme, which is that I recently got into crochet. I think you may have heard.
Oh, that's a pretty cozy activity.
Did you see my crochet cactus?
I think you did a great job. I mean, I saw you struggling with it, and I saw the final product, and I was very impressed with how far you went. Because you were like pulling your hair out earlier.
At one point.
But you had that anime note of just like, I believe in myself. I will do this. Yeah,
the Death Note like choir music was playing pretty much the whole time. Like, like sort of.
This is more of like a shonen anime thing, not really a Death Note.
Death Note is shonen, bro.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, protagonist gets stronger over time, and his friends power him.
Dragon Ball style.
Yeah, that's what I mean by shonen. What's a better term? Battle anime. And here we go. Now we're back into the stuff
something like that.
Our watermelon fans are just like. It's going over their heads. You know what's crazy? I don't mind eating the white seeds. I do have a problem swallowing the black seeds. I still think that they're going to grow into a big watermelon in my tummy.
I'm stumped on this one. I don't know. I can't.
Well, I mean, you recently revealed that you're cool with swallowing gum. So, like, I don't know. Your frame of reference on swallowing objects is kind of like a little skewed for me now.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, that is what messed up my throat. Welcome to Shelf Stable.
Welcome to Shelf Stable. Podcast celebrating watermelon and board games that have stood the test. Wait, let me actually swallow. Hold on.
You're not. Yeah.
Welcome to Shelf Stable.
Okay.
Podcast celebrating board games that have stood the test of time. I'm your host, Kenny Katsuyama. Yum, 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 yum.
And I'm your other host, Tom Bowers. Today, our featured topic is, are cozy games even a thing? Is that real?
Snuggle up for this episode. Grab a warm blanket and a hot tea.
Get comfy. Grab your nearest hot beverage. Get your biggest blanket. And bury yourself in as many pillows and crocheted animals as you can. But before we talk about that, let's talk about some of the things we just been kind of playing recently. Stuff we've been thinking about. Kenny?
We got kind of a theme going for the games we played. We wanted to make it a little cozy. So, you know, pets are cozy. So we're going to start here with Catlantis from 2019. Designed by Prospero Hall and published by Ravensburger. This is
Prospero Hall?
Mm-hmm. I know. Makers of Pan Am.
Wow.
They got a good track record. Yeah, Prospero Hall, for those who don't know, it's a design collective. It's a number of folks. They did a lot of like licensed IP games, such as Pan Am, the Fast and Furious game. They did the Groundhog Day game, which is kind of like the Mind.
I like the idea that Pan Am is like an IP game. Like yes, technically Pan Am was a company that was real, but like yeah, they had to license that one especially. I'm not sure.
As far as I know, Catlantis is not based on any sort of IP. It's an original design. And what you have are basically real pictures of cats photoshopped onto mermaids on these very, very holographic cards. Like if you think about in Magic the Gathering, when you have a stack of foil cards and they all start to curl up, people call it like the Pringle. This game just straight out of the box is just a can of Pringles. Like every card is extremely blinding, very pretty, I have to say. And just completely bent. Like every card is just naturally bent.
And after like 2 playthroughs, they look like ass because like all the foil coating's like peeling off.
Yeah, Tom and I are not huge on sleeving. I wouldn't say we're anti-sleeve, but we're definitely not proponents of sleeve everything. If you're big on Catlantis and you get a copy, probably sleeve it, because otherwise it's going to get wrecked right away.
Yeah, if you want it to last. Did you buy this? Because I've only ever checked it out from the library.
No, yeah, I just checked it from the library.
So to be fair, we've only really experienced the library quality. And as you can imagine by its name and the fact that every card is foil, it's basically a children's game.
Well, speak for yourself. This is like a 4.8 on BGG. In Catlantis, you play essentially an I split you choose game. Every turn, the current player picks a target, picks their person to assassinate. Picks their person to offer gifts to, and then they select 2 cards from the center row. Then the person that they have chosen picks which card they take, and the remaining card is the one that the current player gets. So you kind of have to think, what does this person want and what does this person not want, so that I can make sure I get the card I want. But you're also telegraphing information about your desires when you do that. So I think the idea behind the game is like this, I know that they know. But in practice, at least in my plays of it, you kind of just instantly know what everybody wants. And then it's a kid's game. You just have fun. You give the kids what they want and you take whatever's left over. And at the end you reveal, oh yeah, I was going for this cat. I bet you didn't know I was going for the gray cat. And it's like, I did. There's a little bit more to the game, but that's functionally how you play it. I thought that it was decent / inoffensive, fun kids game. The first few times I played it with my daughter, she loved it to the point where she wanted to check it out a second time later on after we had already checked it back in and played it a number of times. The more I play it, the more I'm like, I wish we could be playing other kids games right now. It's a pain. It's way too long. So what I'll do is I'll secretly cut the deck in half to make the game a decent length.
Smart.
And it's just like there's nothing after the first few turns. I think the first few turns can be interesting, where you're trying to suss out what's going on, especially if there's like 2 adult players or something like that. But after that, you're really going through the motions. I played this with Josh, and Josh was like visibly, he looked like he needed to pee after the first time around the table. And I don't blame him, because like it is, here's the thing. I don't think every kids game needs to be fun for adults, but I would say that there are other kids games that are much more fun for the adults to experience as well as the kids without sacrificing anything for the kids. I'm thinking Rhino here. I'm thinking Animal to Animal. My First Castle Panic, stuff like that. Like there's all these games that are playable for like kids that are like 4 and younger that are actually like decently fun to play. And this one, I feel like I'm waiting to leave an office or something.
Yeah, somehow a game with like foiled up Pringle cards of cat mermaids, they figured out how to make it feel like you're doing taxes after the first like 5 minutes.
Did you have the same experience?
More or less. I don't think I've played it as much as you to like really have had the hatred set in. The biggest issue I ran into trying to play this was like setting out cats for like the other kids to select, and then them getting like really pissed off if they like couldn't take both when they really wanted both, especially the youngest. And then otherwise, like, this game's all right, you know?
I don't know if you had the same experience, but there's like 3 special objects. There's like a laser pointer, there's a scratch pad, and then there's like the cat litter.
Yeah.
And in my plays, I consistently would pick a really cute cat and the cat litter.
Yeah.
And then my daughter would pick the really cute cat and I would be left with the cat litter. And I had a collection of like 20 cat litter boxes.
That's a lot of points too.
You don't want her to get upset. And actually it does kind of benefit because the more of one symbol you get, the more points you get. So I was the cat litter champion every game.
Stupid kid. They don't know the expected value of this cat litter.
They don't know how powerful the cat litter card is.
They're picking off cuteness. The cuteness idea is there, but overly long is exactly, I think, its biggest problem. It's just like, who's this for? That it like lasts like over 30 minutes.
When you play kids games, do you keep track of who wins and like the score and stuff? Or I guess it depends the age, right?
Depends on the game, and it depends on how much the kids care.
Because, like, for me, like, we'll finish the game. I won't bring it up. And then if she's like, did I win? I'll be like, yup. And that's it.
Yeah.
Little does she know I got 100 points from cat litter.
Yeah, I mean, Catlantis has like kind of a big like abacus table of scoring to it as well.
Yeah, that's another wild thing. It has a reference sheet, 18xx style for like how you distribute points.
Yeah, like a little bit over designed, weirdly, which maybe it's like Prospero Hall. I don't think their forte is in games for little kids, because Pan Am is an incredible game. Or maybe they thought that this was like more fun for adults than it was. By the time they like had fleshed it out to play testers, they're like realizing like, actually this is mid, but we already made it. We're just gonna send it. I don't know what happened exactly.
It could just be that they were like, we already have the theme. Can you just design something real quick for us? I will say theme wise, this gets like a solid A-, maybe B+. Because like,
yes,
it's well executed, and boy is it like on brand for what some kids are looking for. Like shiny cards with the cats, and the cats are pretty cute. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the reason we brought this home from the library is because my daughter saw it and was like, I do not care about anything else right now. Catlantis is the world to me, and we are bringing this home.
Shiny, it has cute cat on it, it has mermaid. It's all anyone needs in a game.
That's Catlantis.
Okay, Kenny. Well, talking about cute ass animal card games, I'm also going to be talking about a game that's designed for kids that adults can play too, and fits really well into our theme as well, which is the T-Dragon Society card game. I'm going to hit you with a double boom here today, Kenny, because I'm also going to talk about the 2020 sequel/expansion Autumn Harvest. Both were designed by Steve Ellis II and Tyler Tinsley. Is published by Renegade Game Studios. Real quick, I think I need to issue like a brief apology to Renegade Game Studios, because I think in like episode 1 or 2, I made a joke that was just like, maybe from the time you spot the Renegade Game Studio logo on the box that it's going to be a bad time. I said something to that effect. I believe I may have confused the Renegade Studio logo with Cryptozoic's logo. And I meant to make a disparaging remark about Cryptozoic's record in publication. Renegade has actually done pretty okay.
Yeah, I think you were getting there because they both do like IP-based deck building games.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
And I might end up eating my words on this, but I'm pretty sure that like if you had me throw a dart at like a random Renegade Game Studios game versus a Cryptozoic game, 99% of the time, I think I'm gonna want to play the Renegade game. Should we do like, you can pull them up and it's like, guess, Tom, is it Renegade or Cryptozoic?
Before we start that, in 2014, a former owner and co-founder of Cryptozoic, Scott Gaeta, founded Renegade. So you're really not too far off.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I sniffed that one out just on intuition.
Yeah. I just want to get that out there because I know for sure we were going to have like the other one. I don't think so, but like for this one, I'm sure we're going to have somebody write in. So just wanted to make that clear to everybody.
We knew. You can unsend that email. Just kidding. Mm-hmm. Send it anyway. We'd love to hear from our fans. My apologies to Renegade Game Studio. You guys are the ones doing God's work. Cryptozoic, let's try a little more.
Try a little harder. Okay, do you want to play the mini game?
Sure.
Lord of the Rings, the deck building game.
That's Cryptozoic.
Correct. All right, what about the DC deck building game?
That one I know is Cryptozoic because I used to own it.
The My Little Pony deck building game.
Oh, fuck. I think that's still Cryptozoic. You can't trick me. Oh, as a former brony, I'm amazed that I'd never heard of this one. Oh, it's kind of recent.
It uses the same engine as the Power Rangers deck building game, which you notoriously... I know, I think it's like slightly different, but it's a similar DNA. So, Love Letter Batman.
This was another one I used to own. This is Cryptozoic.
Oh no, you own so many Cryptozoic games.
Oh no. I have to eat whatever the words were earlier. Hold on. Add a Minecraft sound effect here.
Professions of the Locations Kingdom. They're originally Garfield games, but they're published in other countries by the Cryptozoic or Renegades. Renegades? Yeah. See, you know this more than you think.
Yeah, I guess I do. That's why I'm like ashamed. I should have never thrown Renegade under the bus. Although apparently they were the ones that did the Power Rangers deck builder, which is I think why I got it confused. I think I'd rather play the goddamn DC deck builder than the Power Rangers deck builder again.
Well, okay.
Cryptozoic, I owe you an apology. I got your logo confused with Renegade Game Studio. And apparently both studios are like pretty decent.
That brings up an interesting question, though. If you had a studio that consistently brought out mid games and a studio that brought out like bad games, but then like one amazing game, we'll say, what studio would you support if you had to like throw $100 their way for like Patreon or something?
Well, like they're doing a Kickstarter for their next game and they made one that was epic and then the rest are like trash.
Yeah. As
opposed to the studio that's mid as fuck, but they're consistent. I think I'm going to back the one that's mid. Just because it's like a safer investment.
I'm at a point in my life where like mid won't cut it for me. I'd rather take a risk and get another good thing potentially than like something that I'm just going to get rid of right away. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that we're on the two sides of this. You're more about like maximizing VPs and I'm like gambling over here.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? Maybe it doesn't make sense to be risk averse in a Kickstarter campaign per se. I'm thinking like almost in resale value. Like either way, the game's highly likely to end up at the next swap, right? So it's like, would I rather have a game that I can sell for almost as much as I paid for it or a game where I'm going to be taking a huge L?
Yeah.
Most likely, I guess they could have the next number one.
Do we want to talk about the Autumn Harvest and Tea Dragon Society?
Yeah, enough of that bullshit. Time to get back into the game that I was actually going to talk about, which is the Tea Dragon Society card game. This is an interesting game. I'm playing it a lot lately, and it's mostly because the older kids really like it, and they definitely like it because the theme, it's based on a series of like graphic novel comic books. I think they were originally published as webtoons, maybe. The Tea Dragon Society, I believe is what the original book is called. And it has this really, really cute aesthetic artwork, extremely cozy vibes, where people take care of dragons and then basically trim like the leaves that grow on the antlers of these dragons. And they use that to brew tea. And I don't know, there's probably some drama in there somewhere, but like, it has like the same kind of vibes as like Steven Universe or any of these cartoons recently that are trying to do these sort of like emotionally holistic approaches to drama rather than like being completely action driven, you know what I mean? Or like violent cartoon characters instead of like these emotionally vulnerable cartoon characters that go through real shit, so that like kids who don't know any better are just like, wow, this is a cartoon that is doing something. And then adults watching it are like, God damn, That's like the same vein that this world, the Tea Dragon Society, seems to fit into.
Right.
From what I can tell. The card game is extremely simple. It's sort of a deck builder where you either draw a card or buy a card from small market and basically do that until the cards available to purchase more or less run out. The things that are different about it is that like instead of drawing cards into your hand, you just draw them straight up into a tableau. When you purchase a card, instead of it going to your discard, having to get shuffled back in, they are added directly to the tableau. unless they're these memory cards, and these are the ones that trigger the game end and the game progression, the memory cards will shuffle your whole deck back in. So it's like there's some amount of like mitigation where like if you've drawn cards and discarded cards that you don't really want, you're in a better position to try and buy from like the regular market and not purchase the memories because you don't necessarily want all those bad cards shuffled back in. So there's some interesting like decision points that it creates that like normal deck builders don't have. However, the one thing that this game has, and I suspect it's the reason that it is not more highly regarded, is a mechanic where, like, because the theme is you're taking care of these dragons and they're sort of unruly, occasionally the card you draw will just literally say, basically, like, lose this turn, like, discard this card and a card from your tableau. So they're like these little setbacks. Now, the game is, like, quick enough that you're not necessarily, like, feeling completely burnt by this, but even drawing, like, 2 of those in a row is, like, just irritating enough that I think it really holds the game back. I don't think it was necessary in order to execute on the theme.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm really not sure like why they went with that design. And it's interesting too, because the original game is just the Tea Dragon game. And then they came out with this Autumn Harvest, which works as its own game, but it has some cards that allow you to sort of like add in characters from the original game so that you can play with more players and play with all the 8 unique dragons. But the second game like fixed some things in a sense, but it didn't get rid of these like setback cards. So it's an interesting, I guess, encapsulation of like a designer sort of iterating on their own ideas and seeing what they chose to keep, what they took out, and what they added or changed.
I played this with some non-regulars that kind of showed up to play this. One time at the game night.
Just all adults?
Yeah, adults. And I don't remember anything about it. Like, and this was like a year ago. It wasn't like ages ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was because it was particularly bad or anything like that, but it just really, like, you explaining the rules again to me just now, it was like hearing it for the first time. So obviously it didn't make a big mark on me. I mean, I don't know that I can speak to the value or the worth of it, because yes, I played it, but like I really can't recall. So you describing though, it does sound like that would be something that would annoy me, the setback thing.
Yeah.
So
it's not necessary. It's not that severe, but it's like, why even do that? It just is going to make your players like unhappy. I really do enjoy playing this with kids, and I have played it with adults, and other adults seem to like it okay. Really, it's just held back by its own design a tad. It's kind of a shame. That's the Tea Dragon Society card game and its sequel, Autumn Harvest.
Ribbit, ribbit, boing, boing. We got to play Cosmic Frog at the convention. This is one I was very much looking forward to. Designer Jenna Felli of Devious Weasel Games. All 4 of us were very intrigued by this game. On theme alone, it's insane. The game describes that you are 2-mile-high frogs fighting in a Dimension Zero. Not necessarily fighting, but collecting these broken shards of planets, consuming them and putting them down your gullet, and then stealing them from each other by punching each other, which like recoils us out of the board into the ether, where we can then get our pieces of planets stolen via us going in other dimensions and our vault being unlocked. I'm not exaggerating anything right now. This is like literally what happens in the game. It's very, very evocative of its theme. I will say that much. It's not a fair game. It's absolutely insane. Very frequently, you're going to change your power and you're just going to have a completely different set of broken abilities. Kind of a la Carl Chuddick to a certain extent. But really at its core, it's like a free-for-all skirmish game. I know there's like a team variant, but we play just 4 players, everybody for themselves. Just punch each other into oblivion. Stuff the pieces of planet down your gullet and try to digest them so you can store them in your vault. It has a really interesting scoring mechanism for scoring the planet shards that you eat. And also, I really like how the board is essentially all these like planet shards that are splayed out in an interesting, visually appealing hex grid. And that as you consume them, you're basically consuming the world upon which you stand. Like the area gets smaller and smaller and destroyed. There's also these cards that come up that just further accelerate the end of the game and basically wipe out areas of the board. It was not fair, but I don't think anybody expected the game to be fair. There's a whole lot of garbage that happens in this game. You know, oh, I just drew this thing and now I do this broken thing. Or, oh, I lost this collection of shards that I've been working on for a long time. Sucks to be you. Or sometimes you're just standing on the space that gets obliterated. And yeah, there are ways to kind of deal with that, but we forgot about them. There was a split second where somebody almost had a heart attack because they basically were in the lead and then went down to 0. But we realized they were not standing on the right spot. So they were actually safe. But that's something that could have happened. You could have just been wrecked and wiped off the face of the earth, even though you were in first place. I don't know, Tom. Like, I don't know how you feel about it. I'm kind of scratching my head about it because I've heard rave reviews about Cosmic Frog. And I've also heard about how random it was. And neither the good nor the bad really came out in the way I expected it to in this game. It ended up almost being yes, but different.
When you pulled this out, for me, I was like, this is love at first sight. I love this aesthetic. I love these frogs. I love these tiles. I love all the weird language and the like the numbered, sub-numbered rules, kind of. If I remember correctly, I was just like, yeah, this is sweet. And then as soon as we started playing it, I was like, I want a divorce. I think this game has like a lot of mechanics that I really like on first blush. And then like the combination of all of its elements together, I felt like just added up to something less than the sum of its parts, you know? Like the idea that like the turns are taken based on the randomness of a deck, interesting mechanic on its own, but it just ends up playing out in a frustrating way, I think, at least with this game. There's probably other designs that could execute that on that idea better, I think. And I could say the same for the scoring system. I could say the same for the picking up tile system. I don't know. It's like the game incentivizes people to like, you know, just jump around and punch each other as the frogs. But then some frogs are just so much better at punching than others that you're sometimes disincentivized from trying to punch anyone. And so it'll be like, the game tells me to kill them and maim this. I just want to eat these shards for Christ's sake, you know, and then you like can't because someone else is going to sneak up on you and punch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just was like, wow, personally pretty disappointed with the actual gameplay.
Same. Yeah. I felt like it was just kind of like, okay, you know, it felt like a one and done. Like I had a great experience playing it. I don't want to play it again. If anything, just reading the rule book was the most fun part of this game. I had a hoot going through this. There's just really funny moments where it's like, when you consume your fourth shard, you lose whatever the earliest one was that you lost. And most rule books would just say discard the lowest one. But in this rule book, it says every cosmic frog has the heat of a burning star at the center of its gullet. And when a shard gets pushed further than, you know, the bottom of their gullet, it gets channeled into energy by that star and powers the cosmic frog or something like that. And it's like, I just love little things like that. That was really delightful to read.
Yeah, I think the game's strongest suit is its theme. It executes well. It really makes the frogs feel like floaty and supernatural. It puts you in a really good headspace. Yeah,
it is very evocative. So definitely mad points over there. You've pretty well vocalized what I had to say, so I think we could just leave it at that. Basically ditto what you said. If I were to compare this to like video games, it really is evocative of like a Suda 51 game or like a Kojima game, where it's like you can feel the author of the game in it, and there's just like no holds barred.
They gave them no editor. Like, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like Jenna Felli, like she didn't get any. Well, I think this is her publishing company anyway. So that being said, you know, sometimes you get something like Killer 7, and then sometimes you get something like Death Stranding. And I feel like it was more like Death Stranding, where even after all the haze is gone, like I still think Death Stranding is really interesting. Like it has so many cool aesthetic things, but like it's messy. And in practice, it's not as compelling as maybe people had thought to play. And I know there are like some Death Stranding lovers out there.
Some major stranders out there.
Some major stranders. So,
I will say
the same thing with this.
That,
like there's some major froggers out there. So
yeah. Whatever Felli is doing next, I'm interested in. Don't get me wrong. But
yeah, she's always putting out really interesting designs. Like Doer of the Lesser Houses is another one that I haven't played. I read the rules for, and I'm like, you know. So.
Yeah, I'm interested in what happens next year. Cosmic Frog was a little bit of a miss for me. You could probably talk me into playing it again, but I'm going to wait for that person to show up in my life.
So it's Cosmic Frog from 2020.
I recently played 5 Tribes, the Gins of Cathala from 2014, designed by the famous Bruno Cathala and published by Days of Wonder.
How does this tie into the cute animals theme?
You know, genies, they're kind of like pets. I don't think that's problematic to say. I mean, you keep them in lamps or something.
Got mermaid cats, dragons, cosmic frogs, and genies.
Yeah. It's cozy because it's Mancala, which is a classic. Everyone's played Mancala. 5 Tribes. I've owned this for a long time. I hadn't played it in years. I played it again with my girlfriend less than a year ago, I want to say. And then I played it again just the other night. The second time playing it again in however many years, it really struck me kind of how fiddly the game is. And at the same time, I don't think it should have done away with anything necessarily. I think in my mind, 5 Tribes is like a gateway game. But now I'm like, there's no shot. It can operate as someone's first game beyond Monopoly, but I'd sooner make it the game they play after they've played the game after Monopoly. Does that make sense? So like, if Monopoly is a shit game,
that makes sense.
You know, an A-tier shit game, and then someone's gateway game is something like Splendor, then you can do 5 Tribes. For your Project Mom thing, this is maybe tier 2.
So you were saying you thought 5 Tribes was like Splendor level, and now you've changed it?
Ish.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Like, absolutely
I would have never put 5 Tribes in the same category. Like 5 Tribes is maybe where Wingspan is. I would say it's even more complicated.
It is. Than Wingspan, yes. The theme ties it together like well enough, but not nearly as beautifully as Wingspan, I think, in a sense. I'm trying to figure out my exact thoughts on this game, because like playing it again, there's another issue I sort of have with it, which is that it is like probably one of the most AP prone games of all time.
That was going to be my comment.
Yeah.
It's just AP City. Even for people who don't typically have AP, it's just way too open. And it's not immediately transparent what each move is going to do. So you have to actually like visualize it, think about it.
There's like 30 goddamn tiles, and they each have like 3 meeples on it. And you're like trying to figure out like where, like how you can pick up meeples to get a certain tile to fire. But you also want to consider if you can like secure a tile for yourself by clearing all the meeples off of it. Like there's so much to think about. And shout out to the group I played this with, because there were 3 of us and we got through it remarkably fast for basically not starting until 11:30 at night. We were only playing till like 1:30.
I will say, if you are an AP prone player, might I suggest 5 Tribes? Because I don't think it adds that much for the AP player, but it makes everybody else get on your level.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then they can empathize a little bit with you of like,
they can be like, I see where this guy's
how my
coming
brain
from.
works.
Yeah. I don't know what exactly you could cut. I think maybe you could have cut the yellow meeples and just had the other 4, and the game still would have worked well enough. And then you maybe could have also cut bidding for turn order, which is like, it's a really nice to have thing. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I forgot about it too until I'm like pulling it out. I was like, oh yeah, that's in this. What? You know, it's one of those things where it doesn't come up that much turn over turn, but when it is relevant, you're like, oh yeah, I need to be first in line so I can steal this tile. And then like on top of that, every genie has like its own unique power. There's like 30 unique genies or something. And I'm sure there's like an expansion that adds even more. I'm just like, did it really need all of this? It's crazy. It's wild that this game has had any success at all. But it works. It's pretty fun to play. You feel pretty smart when you like get like a solid move off. And I think that's really what sells it.
Yeah, I only played this once with you, but I had a good time playing it. Really, the biggest thing is just the AP.
Yeah.
And I will say a thing that bothers me way more than it should, and you'll think I'm doing a bit, but I'm legit about this. I don't like that it doesn't play to 5 players.
Oh no, I feel the exact same way. I'm like,
not because I would ever play to 5 players, but like it just bothers me that it's called 5 tribes. Like 7 wonders, you can play up to 7, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe it's 7 wonders' fault for establishing that, but like, I don't know.
Well, and I can also understand like calling it 4 tribes does not roll off the tongue. So that's probably why the yellow tribe exists at all. But like, they could have got rid of the yellow tribe and just called it 4 tribes, and then it would have been like perfect, you know?
Anyway,
but that's
you know what they could have called it tribes and made the S a 5.
Missed opportunity there too. I really don't know. I think there's an expansion that makes it playable up to 5, weirdly enough. But like you said, like that's like adding, that's like 2 things that I don't want to do, which is bridge an expansion and add a 5th player to a game that is already like long just because turns are hard to think about. So that's 5 tribes. It's a game.
It's a game.
Solid. I'm feeling a light 7.
Okay, Fantano.
Yeah, there you go.
100 games to play before you die.
Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, and today we're talking about number 26 in the list of games that Kenny believes represents the 100 degrees of the board game diaspora that you can experience before you turn 100 years old. You can check out the list on BoardGameGeek.com. We'll have it in the show notes. But number 26 is Splendor from 2014, designed by Marc Andre and published by Space Cowboys. Kenny, why is Splendor a game you notably don't like on the list?
Wow, putting me on blast from the get-go. By the way, Anthony Fantano, that's like peak. Good job, Tom.
Thanks.
If Fantano dies this week, Tom, I will never forgive you.
I wouldn't forgive myself. Why am I responsible for it, though?
You just Final Destinationed him with your announcing him in the 100 games.
I guess I did do that to Jimmy Carter.
Splendor. I don't dislike Splendor. I respect Splendor. I'm tired of playing Splendor. The reason it's on the list is because it's evergreen. It's also because it's kind of your quintessential purist efficiency puzzle. This is what I think of when, I got to get these resources to go and get this thing, which will help me get more things that'll get me this thing. But without all the theme associated with it and without all the kind of like cube conversion, layered things that make it more of a piece of work to suss out what's going on. It's like very pure in its essence.
No bullshit.
Maybe this is a controversial thing to say, but I feel like the folks who like the Arc Novas, the Terraforming Mars, the Res Arcanas, etc., this would be the game I envision them piquing their interest in this direction. Maybe a better way to word it is like, if they like Splendor, that might be an indication to lead them towards those games. Let's say you have the option between introducing somebody who's only played Settlers of Catan to Splendor or Wingspan. Which one are you going to do? You're going to do Splendor. because it's like a lot more streamlined. There's a chance that they don't like Wingspan, but it's not because they don't like the gameplay. It's because it was a little bit too quick of a step for them. So you sneak Splendor in there to really get a feel for, is it like they don't like that type of game, or is it because they wouldn't be able to handle anything more currently? And it's a game that you can play with family, but like still has enough interesting decisions to play out. This is kind of an evergreen title, so I'm kind of making a point of not going into too much detail about evergreen titles. Collect gems, spend the gems to get cards that give you permanent gems, and then eventually you get to a point where you can buy cards with points on them. Ta-da. Why do I think it deserves to be on the list other than the efficiency puzzle? I just think that it would be weird to not have Splendor on a list like this. Again, we talked about this last time with Azul. There are certain games that even if they have some overlap or they're not like distinct in representing a thing, because like we have efficiency puzzles on the group, there's also this concept of the evergreen game. And it very closely relates to the most owned games on BGG. Like when we talked about that in a previous episode, I was like, a lot of the games that I've like included in the 100 list are there because they're just so ubiquitous and they're kind of considered part of the board game library of games. If I were to like put an abstract title on it, I think literally every one of those, like, this is a must kind of game should be on this list. It feels weird to not have them. So yeah, that's why Splendor's on. What are your thoughts on Splendor? I know you're a little bit hotter on it than I am.
Yeah, I haven't been burned out on this game specifically. So I still find myself sort of enjoying the puzzle of it. The most recent time we played this, we played it online, and it felt like everybody was like, I really don't, care what I'm doing here. Meanwhile, I was like, low key thriving, and I think it's because like there just is so little to have to think about that it feels really good to be able to like hone in on a strategy and see it pay off. And I feel like it's really easy to do that in this game than in other games, and I think that was the reason that I found myself enjoying it seemingly more than anyone else at the table.
That's fair. Yeah,
that said, like it is kind of dull in a theme sense. And I don't think after like playing it 20 times, say in the same week, that I would be like, all right, let's do number 21. Like I don't foresee myself feeling that juiced about it, but I'm still respecting it.
I don't dislike this game, period. It's not even that I find this game not compelling because of the theme. I think it's just because of having overplayed it that I feel like I'm a little bit burnt out on it. Yeah,
it's like Carly Rae Jepsen.
Sure.
You just heard that one song too many times.
But like, ask me in 5 years, I'll probably be down to play Splendor, and I'll even have a good time with it. So it's Splendor from 2014.
All right. Well, enough of that bullshit, whatever the fuck we've been talking about. Splendor. God, it feels good to be able to say bullshit and fuck again. We swear on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Get used to it, okay? I'm sorry if you came to our live show at SaltCon and now you're listening to this with your kid. You're like, these guys are pretty funny. I'm going to put them on again. And then they start swearing and ruin your life and your child's precious ears. We're sorry. You should have heeded the warning in the beginning of the episode that we have every time. So that's kind of on you. But anyway, That's beside the point, because the main topic of this week, the thing that everybody comes around to listen to and show up week after week because they cannot get enough of our main topic each week. And this week's topic is, are cozy games a thing? It's in the news a lot lately. You don't stop hearing about it. We've got cozy games, folks. A lot of cozy games coming out.
Cozy games coming in and out. You got a cozy over here, cozy over there, cozy everywhere. Where did this cozy thing start?
I blame Stardew Valley.
Oh.
I blame Stardew Valley for most of my problems, but this one in particular, I feel like is definitely...
It definitely roots itself in video games. But it's interesting, yeah. I don't know if Stardew was really the progenitor, but like there's definitely like a period not too long ago when this really blew up in video games, and then it subsequently blew up in board games.
Yeah, it's interesting sometimes that board games end up being like the shadow realm of whatever is happening in video game culture.
Okay, I have an interesting way we can approach this. Let's start by stating just a yes or no whether we think cozy games are a thing, and then we can work our way to seeing if we can convince ourselves the opposite. So, do you think cozy games, do you think there is such thing as a cozy game?
Yes.
Interesting. So, I'm going to say no. And I'm not just saying it to be a contrarian, because I think it would have been equally interesting if we both said yes.
Okay.
So start me off, I guess. You have probably the more popular opinion. Why do you think cozy games are a thing? And maybe you can define what you consider a cozy game.
Well, when I think of cozy, I think putting on your favorite sweater type vibe. And for me, that is probably akin to breaking out a solo experience of Le Havre or something. So I'm like, yeah, cozy games exist because you almost can't solo game without getting into a bit of a cozy headspace.
Interesting. Okay. So I think we have very different taxonomies for what we consider cozy in board gaming. And that might be why you're saying yes and I'm saying no. Because I would have said yes to what you just said. I think games can be cozy to the individual, but I think most people would agree that Le Havre is not marketed as a cozy game.
Correct. It's marketed as a shipping game.
When I think of cozy games...
marketed as a MS Paint art game.
Yeah, when I think of cozy games, I think of the games that are people are trying to tell you they're cozy. Either critics or the people behind the games themselves. And
this game's the Dark Souls of cozy games.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a certain either aesthetic or mechanisms, certain mechanisms or certain aesthetics that are associated with coziness. And my argument is more akin to what you're saying, which is cozy is a feeling you get that's irrelevant of the game. It feels weird to try and target that feeling because that feeling is different for each person. The feeling of cozy is familiarity and feeling like you're just enjoying it no matter what happens. And I think games can evoke that, but I don't think that the games that allege that they are cozy necessarily evoke that feeling.
Well, I think this is where you're straight up kind of misunderstanding what's actually going on.
Okay.
Which is that cozy is
no, you're wrong.
Oh yeah. Cozy is almost cozy is a dog whistle. Actually.
Okay, go on.
And hear me out, okay? So people like to point out that the right has these dog whistles, right? They say racist things, but they don't sound racist up front, but it's a signal to racist people.
You're saying that cozy is racist.
No. But it works the same way. Whereas when I say cozy, it's this game is going to make you feel like you're an accomplished communist. It's like a dog whistle for the left. Now, hear me out on this, because I know this
we're going to get comments about this one for sure. Right. Yeah.
The games that I think of that do what you're describing are things like Dorfromantik or, Stardew Valley, famously. Which I understand is a video game, but they do have a board game adaptation as well.
Calico, right?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of these games evoke themes that sort of cross over really readily with this sort of anti-consumerist movement, which we ourselves are trying to peddle a little bit with this podcast. And by the way, this is not a sentiment or a vibe that I disagree with, but it's there is a sort of a marketing capture that is going on with this aesthetic where
okay, that makes more sense. So can I posit this? When you say dog whistle, you mean marketing ploy?
Basically, yeah. It's dog whistle.
Dog whistle implies we hear you and we're with you, wink. Which is I don't really know that that's what they're doing. They're being very upfront about what they're doing. They're we hear you and we're going to use this terminology to pique your interest. which is like a little bit different. Yeah.
You got me. I use the term dog whistle just to spike
just to be
engagement.
Controversial. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's a marketing thing, right? And it's
Right.
totally like how everyone got into baking bread during COVID, and now suddenly everyone's like, oh yeah, like I could be a homesteader. It's like, well, instead of actually doing the work of becoming a homesteader, you could just play Dwarf Romantic, which doesn't have homesteading as its theme exactly, but it does have this city planning like ability to sort of let you like imagine, a perfect world where like the villages are right next to the wheat fields, and the wheat fields are next to the forests, and then the forests are next to the rivers, and blah blah blah, right? Like yeah, and everything has this like village aesthetic, these sort of like back to the old days when we didn't have to work 40 hours a week at nothingburger.com to earn enough money to go to like the fucking Jamba Juice just to get enough nutrients to survive the weekend, and everyone's got sleep apnea and blah blah blah, like right, whatever world we're living in
targeted.
Now, need to escape. That's a whole, don't get me started, because that could be its own tangent. It's not like I don't have anything against you.
I work at nothingburger.com and have sleep apnea.
It's like the mundanity of reality is really irritating. I think the cozy is a code word in marketing to get
for
people
like
to
escape.
think like, yeah, this is how I can get out of my shit life.
But like you wouldn't see like, check out this cozy game, Frosthaven, even though it is also an escape to a certain extent. Like there's more to it than just escapism. Like cozy has a certain like, well, first of all, it's like very nature themed. And then second of all, it's like no stakes, I think is also the implied thing.
It's low competition, if not no competition in the case of Dwarf Romantic.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say that Dwarf Romantic, both the video game and the board game, are probably one of the better representations of what I would think a cozy game is, because there's literally no stakes. Like you're just trying to do the thing. Right.
Whereas like in Calico, you're still scoring points. The only thing that makes it cozy is there's a sleeping cat on the cover.
Like, yeah, like Calico could have been like skin like Suburbia, or even like a Knizia game. Like you could have had like little samurai on the hexes, and it would be like hella not cozy. And Calico is like part of the reason I put this on the list of topics, because like Calico in my mind is like so far removed from being cozy. Like I'm literally getting an ulcer when I play Calico. I'm just like, but if I put this here, I can't do the other thing. It's like impossible to do everything in Calico. It's just impossible. Right. And every time you play something, you're just instantly like, no, I totally messed up. And so like, it's just so far removed from what I would consider cozy that it's so weird when somebody like, and this is not usually a human, this is usually like a marketing thing. It's like, it's a real cozy game. I just love how cozy Calico is. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
So what this segment should have been called is like Kenny rants about Calico specifically for like stealing its way into the
cozy
wave
market
of games that Dwarf Romantic is inviting. Now, I will say this, Kenny, it's funny that you're bringing this topic up, because you talked to me before either of us even knew about the Dwarf Romantic board game. You talked about the idea of a game that does not end. Like you do not win. Right. There's just like zero end. And apparently that is like what Dwarf Romantic does.
Yeah. There's another one recently that's also touted as like a cozy game called Mythwind. And same thing. Mm-hmm. You just kind of do the thing and then you pack it up when you're done. And there's like an efficiency puzzle, but you're not like competing and you're not like trying to get like a certain score. I'd say even more so than the Dwarf Romantic board game, Mythwind is like, I'm just doing the thing and it's chill. And I will give it credit that like, there's no stakes in Mythwind. But then the sheer packaging alone makes it uncozy for me. I don't know why, but like just instantly uncozied by the game trays. Maybe another weird block point for me is that like the moment that there's game trays involved, it's like instantly not cozy for me. Like how can you be cozy and have game trays?
I feel like I'm on board with this idea that there's no winners or losers. Something just sort of happens, like some kind of story is told or something, which I guess is just fucking role-playing games. The idea of an open-ended game is one thing, but does it really have like no end? As in,
there's
like,
progress, like you unlock new things, but there's like, but really there's no like goal.
Yeah, which is an interesting space to explore, but I'm going to write it off as a fad, and this won't really be a thing, because I just don't know that there's enough meat on that bone. Now, I'd love to be wrong, and some like amazing game comes out, but to me, like, this is not why I play board games typically. It's like, if I wanted this type of experience, I'd probably be playing a video game by myself. When I'm playing a board game, like, I want social dynamics to play out, and I feel like those play out most strongly when there's sort of reasons to be yelling at each other. But maybe I just have like a bad relationship with my emotions.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's a preference thing. And I definitely lean in the same place as you. I don't think that's why I think there aren't really cozy games. Like, that's more like our desire to play quote unquote cozy games. I do still stand by, like, we're talking about it. Haven't changed my stance yet. Like, I feel like, well, to your point, I feel like cozy is very much a marketing ploy. Yeah. And it's been so misused at this point. Like what does it even mean anymore? It's even starting to affect games that retroactively. Like, if you had asked somebody in 2019, like, is Wingspan cozy? They'd be like, first of all, what are you talking about? But like, if they really stopped to think about it, I would argue that they would say, no, Wingspan is not cozy. But nowadays, I've explicitly heard someone, and I know this is anecdotal, but I've heard someone say like, oh, Wingspan's so cozy. I'm like, Wingspan isn't like cutthroat, but it's still not cozy. I wouldn't consider it a cozy game. I mean, do you think Wingspan is cozy?
I think I could understand where someone's coming from if they were saying that. What about it do you think keeps it from being cozy? Like, what does the game have to do to make you feel like, this is cozy?
It's not that it's competitive, because I think there are competitive games that are cozy. Like Floriferous, I think Floriferous could be accurately described as a cozy game. But I think
Shuffle.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's on the fence.
Interesting.
But like, for me, Wingspan is not cozy because it's competitive enough that people are like burning their brains. Like, first of all, it's puzzly enough that you're burning your brain. You're like thinking about what you have to do, and that's instantly not cozy for me. I feel like it has to be somewhat mindless. And second of all, you are kind of paying attention to what others are doing, especially if you're like more into the game. Like you got really into it.
You're jockeying for position. There's a positional element each round.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. To me, like, I can see people playing this very like lightly and having a fun time. But to me, fun and lighthearted doesn't mean cozy. Cozy is like, you can almost play this just for the fun, the warmth of, revisiting something that.
Just for the hygge of it, like just for putting yourself in a better mood.
Exactly. Yeah. And like things could go completely wrong for you and you still feel like warm inside. I don't feel like you would ever feel that way in Wingspan if things are going wrong.
All right, Kenny. Well, now the fans are asking, like, top 5 cozy games as defined by Kenny. What are they?
I think Dwarf Romantic for sure. Yeah, let's put Floriferous in there. 'Cause that way we can say I have a competitive one in there.
Santa Monica?
No, it's too stressful. It's got the aesthetic, but it's too stressful.
So why is like Cascadia not cozy? Like Forest Shuffle, Cascadia aren't cozy because they're like outdoors, and then you're thinking about bugs, and you're like, I don't want to be where the bugs are.
No, it's not the theme. I think thematically they could be cozy, but like, again, I think like mechanically there's a cognitive dissonance there where like you're thinking about all these things, you got to fit them together, and you're competing against the others, and it's like an actual competition. Like, I feel like there has to have like barely any competition for it to be considered cozy at its core. Like, it doesn't have to be a cooperative game, but like the moment you're really like kind of like thinking about others, like it can't be cozy, in my opinion. Again, this is just all opinion.
So what you're saying is that people should only use the word cozy for roll-in rights?
I think a lot of roll-in rights can be cozy, but they have to be like super mindless.
Like every roll-in right.
No, there's
except
some
for
that, yeah.
Except for the dinosaur.
I don't know. What games do you think are cozy?
Well, I mean, I said this before. Now, I mean, like, Solo Le'Av is, like, cozy to me.
Yeah.
And I was saying this when we talked about it not even that long ago. It just, like, it has this vibe. It makes you feel like, you're going around managing your business, doing some chill stuff.
Yeah.
In a similar vein, like Yokohama, kind of.
Yeah, I can't get there with you. Yokohama's too stressful.
That, like, there's a lot of like competition and haha, I got here first shit in Yokohama, which it seems like that's the thing that for you kills it for being cozy. But I think like if you sort of take a step back from the brain burner of it and you just go like, what am I doing? I'm walking around from from the dockside to the rice fields, like collecting the stuff from my enterprise. Like, I don't know, something about that feels chill.
Mm-hmm. I thought of another
Dream
one.
home.
Tokaido. Tokaido is legitimately cozy.
Yes.
But that's because you don't do anything in Tokaido.
No, yeah, yeah, basically.
Like, you know what's cozy? Like lying on the floor and doing like the snow angel movement while like gently laughing at yourself.
You know what? Another one I just thought of is Machi Koro.
No, because of the coffee. And everybody sticks out their hands at you and they're like, pay up.
Oh.
Instantly not cozy.
Man, I feel like you're too strict on the cozy.
I'm probably too strict.
I think you're correct to say that the word is being overused and it's at risk of losing all meaning as a marketing ploy. And it's probably already gone. Like
Flamecraft, not cozy.
Hot take for sure. Haven't played it, so I don't know. Isle of Cats, cozy.
Not cozy.
Oh.
Because you're drafting. Instantly not cozy.
Anything with a draft is not cozy.
It's too competitive instantly. I guess Isle of Cats is so pointless that it could be perceived as cozy.
Yeah.
If you've like lost any meaningfulness to the play.
Catlantis.
Catlantis is cozy. I'll back that up.
You heard it here first, folks. Get rid of your copy of the Isle of Cats. Only own Catlantis.
We've talked a lot about new game alerts. Sorry, we haven't been game alerting these.
Oh, fuck. Our fans are going to riot.
For the most part, we've been good. But okay, one more game alert. Gentle Rain. Cozy
What's
or not
that?
cozy? A Gentle Rain?
Talking about like I'm thinking of Heavy Rain. What's the name of the kid he's calling out for? Sean or something?
Sean!
Yeah, Sean!
Heavy Rain,
Heavy
cozy,
Rain a
confirmed.
cozy game?
Heavy Rain. The chase sequence when you miss everything.
Yeah.
No, Gentle Rain.
I don't know even what that is.
You
Apparently.
own it.
Oh, yes. Fuck, yeah. It's so cozy, I forgot it exists.
It's so cozy, you forgot you own it.
That one, I think, literally on the box says it is cozy. It does. It literally says a cozy game for one or more minds in need of a soothing rest. And you know what? It more or less lives up to that. It's a meditative game.
Disagree.
Oh, fuck you.
It's just Calico. It's just Calico with different colors.
No, it is not.
It has fewer
Not even
decisions.
close.
It has fewer decisions, but the
It has
further
like
out you go,
1/10 of the decisions.
but the further out
It's not
you
just
go, the
fewer.
more. I'm just here like peeing my pants because I can't get the red flower to connect with the green flower, and people be like, "This is real relaxing. I love to play this game with a cup of tea."
You need to get checked for high blood pressure, and you're like You're way too wound up to be playing these games.
You know what it is? Every time I go to the doctor, they say you have irregularly low blood pressure.
Really?
And it's because I live my life avoiding all these traps. All these games that we are promised are going to relax you. And I just play Matai and I on repeat.
Yeah.
We joke, but like, I think you are really hitting the heart of it from the get-go at the beginning of it. We could probably just cut out everything we've said so far.
I like that idea.
My argument is cozy is whatever you make it to be. And I know that's kind of a cop-out, but like, that's what you said at the beginning, and I agree. And I think that we should stop trying to define cozy as this aesthetic or these mechanisms, because at the end of the day, all of these definitions, they don't gel with me. The only thing that gels is like, I go back to this and it feels good. And that could be any game. For me, I legitimately feel like Matai Nai is cozy because of how many times I've played it and just how much delight I get out of it.
Mm-hmm. It's well worn.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact for you, A Gentle Rain. Not only is it a cozy game, but the art is by W. Kozira. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but the name on the box is spelled cozy with a K.
That's great. I feel like usually you're the one with the hot take, and then people rag on you. I'm fully ready for the reverse this week. Bring it on.
This is your Monopoly A-tier moment.
This is my Monopoly A-tier moment.
Yeah.
Kenny, notoriously uncozy human being, apparently.
I don't. Some of them I'm with you, but some of these other ones I'm just like, I think you take it too seriously, which is really ironic coming from me.
After this discussion, where do you stand? Is there such thing as a cozy game?
Yeah, why not?
I guess with your definition, yes.
Yes, we got him, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much to everybody who actually listens to us. We really appreciate you continuing to tune in. Thank you especially to Michael, Tyler, Devon, and Josh of the Boise RainBeaus for that awesome segue music. Thank you to Bonehouse for letting us use your song Rot as our opening theme.
If you're feeling down, a little stressed out, just make yourself a hot cup of tea, snuggle under a warm blanket with the rain outside, and just play a 5-player game of Food Chain Magnet this week. And listen to this episode while you do so. We'll be there in spirit. We're going to be at Treefort Music Festival. We'll be playing March 28th at 3 p.m. Mountain Time at the Boise Contemporary Theater. You do not need a Treefort wristband to get in. Everybody gets in. So just stop by. I know it's 3 on a Friday, but like, are you really working at 3 on a Friday? Come on.
Come on. Just
start
call
the
out
weekend early. Yeah.
Pick up a brewski.
Yeah. I don't know that they allow drinking in the venue.
Oh.
Or maybe you can only get drinks there. Anyway, we would love to see you there. Are we going to give away a game like we did last time? We should.
Yeah, if you missed it at SaltCon, our last live show, we gave away a used game. We're going to do the same thing here at Treefort. So for no other reason than to get a copy of a game that we recommend but aren't bothering to keep in our collection, come on down to the Treefort show.
If you're loving the cast, share it with a friend or on Reddit or on BGG. It's the best thing you can do to help us grow. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, send an email at shelfstablecast@gmail.com. This and more is available in the show notes. Tom.
Leave a like, leave a comment. You're the best. You're the best. Transition.
Tom, next week, what's our cozy little topic for next week?
I had an idea and then I forgot it. Next week, Kenny, I think we're going to talk about what can gaming do for you? What can you get out of games? What good can it serve you? Can it serve the world? Can it serve your community?
All right. Thanks.
That's next week.
Bye.
Bye.